Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 10, text 17. Is it not on? It's on. Okay. Do we? Oh, see, because you can. So, Sita Tapatram Jagraha Muktadama Vibhutsitam Ratnadandam Gudakesha Priya Priya Tamasya Sita Tapatram Jagraha Muktadana Vibhusitam Ratnadandam Gudakesha Tapatram Jagraha Sita-tapatram jagraha Ratnadandam Gudakesha Priya Priya Tamasyaha Sita-tapatram jagraha Ratnadandam Gudakesha Priya Tamasyaha Sita-tapasya jagraha Muktadama Vibhutsitam Ratnadandam Gudakesha Priya Priya Tamasyaha Sita-tapatram jagraha Muktadama Vibhusitam Ratnadandam Gudakesha Priya Priya Tamasyaha Sita-atapatram Soothing umbrella Jagraha Took up Muktadama Decorated with laces and pearls Vibhushitam Embroidered Ratnadandam with the handle of jewels Gudakesha Arjuna, the expert warrior, or one who has conquered sleep. Priyaha, most beloved. Priyatamasya, of the most beloved. Ha, so he did. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, who is the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Please repeat. Oh, we did that. Purport. Gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in the luxurious royal ceremonies. They are all nature's gifts and are produced by the hills, oceans, and so on by the order of the Lord, when man does not waste his valuable time in producing unwanted things in the name of necessities. By so-called development of industrial enterprises, they are now using pots of gata purcha instead of metals like gold, silver, brass, and copper. They are using margarine instead of purified butter, and 1/4 of the city population has no shelter. Om Jnanatimivandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyaischa Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So thank you all for coming in person and listening online, coming in person every day, many of you in the very cold, and I'm so grateful that our temple is still open. This chapter is called The Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, and we've been hearing in previous classes about the deep emotional attachment of various residents who are preparing to miss him greatly. Today's verse is about Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, the most intimate friend of the beloved Supreme Lord. And I was thinking in so many ways when I was thinking of individual words in the verse, but thinking about Arjuna in the context of how people who've been associating with Krishna face to face for months and years, how particularly difficult for Arjuna when it was he for whom the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Or it was actually spoken for all of us, but he was the one put into bewilderment, although he was so close to Krishna. And just thinking of the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, that one conversation between the two of them has become a beacon of light for all conditioned souls ever since. And as Sesha Prabhu reminded us the other day, Sunday, in the class, that why Krishna spoke to Arjuna, because Bhaktosi me sakacheti, you are my devotee as well as my friend. And so I'm giving you the transcendental mysteries of this science. But he also said, you and I have passed many births before. Because he said, I spoke this science to the sun god millennia ago. And you were also there. And Arjuna was asking, how is that? We're friends, we're contemporaries. How could you have possibly spoken this to the sun god? And Krishna told him, we both passed many, many births, but I can remember them and you can't. So Arjuna also represents every man, all of us, that we've been passing many, many births. Unfortunately, we haven't always been Krishna's dearmost friend. We've chosen to come into the world by our at least momentary feelings of envy. Why can't I? Why is he always the first one? Why is he always the enjoyer? Why not me? Oh, you feel like that? Okay, I have a playground for you. And bingo, you're in the material world, like a child that wants to play with her mother's kitchen pots when she's trying to cook. Well, I'll get you some miniature plastic pots and you can pretend. So this world is designed to make us feel like we're the supreme enjoyer and gives us some little feelings of control. It's funny. There was a class that I heard probably 35 or 40 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. Mandaleshwar Prabhu gave this class at Gitanagari. And the only thing I remember from the class, he was telling how he'd been watching a dog that was sleeping underneath a car in such a way that the oil pan, which had a little leak in it, was dripping on his ear. And he saw the dog kind of shake his ear a little bit, and then after a while the drop would come and the ear would shake. And Mandaleshwar said, I was just watching him and wondering what he's going to do. And after some time, the dog got up and walked to another part of the car, went underneath and lay down and went back to sleep. So his comment was, he's still a dog. He's still sleeping underneath a car. But he exercised his little bit of free will to move out from underneath where the oil was dripping on his ear. And actually, that's our position, too. Isn't it? No matter what we do, we get a bigger house, we get a mate, or we have some wonderful children, or maybe difficult children, and we try to make this arrangement and that arrangement, and decorate it up, and get some insurance policy, or get a really good college degree, or learn a skill, and we're still like that dog. We're still in the material world, trying to compete with Krishna, wishing that we were the enjoyer, trying to control our little realm. And what can be done? And the wonderful thing is what can be done is what we're doing, is sitting and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita and Brihad Bhagavatamrita, whatever people are reading in their homes. At work now on my lunchtime, I read Nectar of Devotion online from the database. I love the database, it's free. You can I read the whole Lilamrita again, including all the follow-up chapters, Prabhupada Leela, a visit to Boston, and 108 rose bushes. And if anyone hasn't read the entire Prabhupada Lilamrita, go online to vedabase.io and read it. You will be immersed in so much nectar. So, anyway, so the purport is short, and I'm going to read it again and tell you what kinds of things came in my mind when I read it. But the rest of the verse was about Arjuna. When Krishna was leaving, he took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. And Prabhupada's purport: gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in the luxurious royal ceremonies. They are all nature's gifts and are produced by the hills, oceans, etc., by the order of the Lord, when man does not waste his valuable time in producing unwanted things in the name of necessities. So, thinking of, the database that I have now isn't the one that I had installed in my previous computer, and that one you could put within quotes a phrase, and it would find the place in Prabhupada's book where the phrase was. Because I have a memory that remembers phrases and sometimes sentences. So I didn't find, but maybe someone else has that app or knows where to find. But there's this place where Prabhupada says, such and such and such and such, which are as good as gold to others, are no better than pebbles and stones to the transcendentalist. So I was thinking, was it education? I couldn't find the reference. But this is actually like the Bhagavad Gita verse where it's described, Krishna is telling his good friend Arjuna, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. We're not meant to take it literally. I actually know of a devotee who took it literally and used to stay up all night cleaning and sleep during the day. But she was eccentric, and I'm sure by practicing Krishna consciousness she's come to understand by now. That was many years ago too. But the things that people value in this world, which are as good as gold to them, some position of prestige, some aristocratic birth, some degrees or fame, popularity, all these things that we as conditioned souls strive for, a transcendentalist has zero interest in these things. He knows how temporary they are. The material pleasures that are coming by contact of the senses with their objects, they're the sources of misery. And yet that's what people are chasing after. And we have a tendency also, from after being in the material world for so many births, to chase after these things. But actually, at least theoretically, we can understand that sense gratification, while very pleasurable in the beginning, so often goes sour. Prabhupada describes some place where a young man and a young woman meet and they want to enjoy together, and then after some time there's separation or even divorce, and sometimes even murder takes place when the passion is strong and there's no piety or regulation. So the very things that we think will bring us happiness may temporarily bring some little measure, but they also can lead to suffering. So it's funny, I was thinking of gold, I was thinking of pearls. I don't know if anyone, years and years ago I read a John Steinbeck short story called The Pearl. And in it, the husband goes diving, and he gets pearls. And one day he found this pearl that was extraordinarily large, and it looked very beautiful to him, and he knew this has to be valuable. So he took it in his small town to one pawn shop for telling, oh, and the man gave, oh no, this is very low quality, I will give you, gave him low price. He knew it's got to be more than that. He goes to another pawn shop, and you read that actually both pawn shops are owned by the same person. And so they're playing off each other, but the young man knew, no, this is more valuable, I know it is, so we'll go to the city and then we'll be able to give our child such a good education, because they were poor people. And long story short, on the way, because someone knew they had it, they were followed by thieves, and the child that they already had, that they were hoping to get such a good education for, was killed in the progress of their journey. So the thing is, people in the material world, they have some sense of how futile these endeavors are for getting happiness through material things. They just don't have the solution. That the real pearl are the ones of offering to Krishna everything that we have, the real jewels, the real gold. I mean, the deities here, they're dressed so beautifully every single day. Usually I take darshan from home through my computer, but when I come, oh my God, they're just so beautiful. And, they're not wearing real pearls most of the time, but the real jewel is the hearts of the devotees that are offering the service of making garlands for them, dressing them, embroidering for them. Even Arjuna's umbrella was embroidered with lace and pearls. Lace is a very intricate thing. Like in the morning, I always get happy to see how the deities are dressed with these beautiful crocheted scarves and wrapped around their feet because it's so cold. And yet we want to get together, so the doors are open most of the time. And the real gold and the real jewels and pearls are spiritual assets. One thing I thought about umbrella. Well, first of all, the other day, little Chota Radharani, she was carrying an umbrella, and I thought, how sweet is that? Also, Lord Krishna, among the many symbols on his feet that Brajvasis would see and know, or Akrura, when he went to Vrindavan to fetch Krishna, to bring him for Kamsa's wrestling match, he saw the lotus footprints, and among the many things on the feet of Krishna is an umbrella. I also thought how Prabhupada, some devotee asked Srila Prabhupada about astrology. Is it important? And basically he didn't give it too much emphasis, but the admonition was given, if you know it's going to rain, you bring an umbrella. So you can have your chart read, and it can say, well, from this time until that time, you'll be in this dark period. So, business ventures are not good to start, or this or that. So we, in one sense, when we clap before the deities, all the lines on our palms are changed. Our fortune changes by serving Krishna. But the rotating of the fan blades may still go on, and our previous karma may come to us, and plus there's the world karma. Just last night, so many people, including, we went out to see, okay, Jupiter in the sky and Saturn, they're coming very close together. First time in some hundreds of years they'll be so close. And many people in our neighborhood were out looking at it, and some are thinking, oh, this is like the Star of Bethlehem. And then other people are saying, oh, right now what's going on astrologically, it hasn't been this bad since the beginning of World War I or World War II. I'm like, okay, which is it? But here we are in the material world. There's always going to be some upheaval. There's always going to be some distress. We know no matter what a wonderful life we have, at the end of it, we have to leave. So the best is to act in a way to attract Krishna's attention and be protected under his umbrella. Something else I thought of, what led me there? Oh, I know, because in the last sentence in the purport, they are using margarine instead of purified butter, and 1/4 of the city population has no shelter. So the margarine part reminded me in the Lilamrita, the description of the one of the first, not the first, but maybe the first wedding that was held on the San Francisco side was Jamuna and Gurudas. And Prabhupada had told what ingredients they needed to have, and when they saw ghee as one of the items, they thought, oh, it's so expensive, you have to get so much butter and melt it down. We'll use margarine instead. So, you can imagine the time for the fire sacrifice came, and the sticks were dipped into the liquid margarine, and when trying to start the fire went and Prabhupada commented, this marriage will get off to a very slow start. And Jamuna began to cry. Yeah, but I was thinking how, okay, so maybe as a marriage, it wasn't the most, long-lasting. Gurudas took sannyas after some time, and Jamuna went to live elsewhere with Dinatarine for so many years. But you can say, oh yes, from a marital point of view, not very good, slow start. But from a transcendental point of view, who can you think of that's more of a devotee attached to Srila Prabhupada, fixed on hearing Srila Prabhupada, completely exemplary in following Srila Prabhupada than Jamuna? So whatever goes on materially doesn't affect the spiritual side. And so then this morning, because I think it was yesterday, wasn't it, the anniversary of her disappearance. So I saw that on Facebook, Giriraj Swami had posted some of his own memories of spending time with Jamuna. And one of them was, they were riding in the train compartment, maybe after Kumbh Mela, and they met one man, a Mr. Gupta in Delhi, came on the train, and he asked Srila Prabhupada, you should start something in Delhi. And so Prabhupada turned to Gurudas and he said, so you should get down here and take a few other devotees and try to do something with this stuff, Mr. Gupta. Try to set something up in Delhi. So Gurudas, they consulted a bit, and so he took Jamuna with him, I forget who else, and Giriraj Das Brahmachari. And so they started something in Delhi, and then after some time Prabhupada came there, and when he was in his room and they went in to see him, he looked up from his desk, and Jamuna said to him, oh, Srila Prabhupada, you look just like a picture I've seen of your Guru Maharaj looking up from his desk. And Prabhupada's response, he said, all that glitters is not gold. My Guru Maharaj was like gold. I am like iron. So, if we want to think about what is gold, the humility of a Vaishnava, Prabhupada really meant it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Prabhupada came by himself with nothing, brought the Hare Krishna mantra, saved so many souls. And when she told him, oh, you look like your Guru Maharaj, she said, oh no, he's like gold. I am like iron. So the real jewels are in the heart of the Vaishnavas. And then a little bit later, I kept reading, I didn't read his whole description, but she was also describing how she had been trained in Pancharatrika Vidhi. Prabhupada was putting so much stress on Bhagavat Vidhi, book distribution, just like, here we are. so many devotees wrapping up the books to be dropped off on the doorsteps of some lucky people who will, if they don't read it right away, or one of their family members reads it a few years from now, it may be a turning point in their life. The book distribution is so, so important. And also the Pancharatrika Vidhi, the deity worship, is also important. But he didn't have time to train very many people in that, but he did train Jamuna. And the two things that we all know that Prabhupada stressed with deity worship is cleanliness and punctuality. So Jamuna was talking about cleanliness. She said Prabhupada was so particular that with his cooker, even if there was a tiny black spot, he would have her scrub so that there should be no spot on his cooker and it should shine like gold. So these are the things that came to my mind when I was reading just about gold and jewels and pearls and Arjuna. And if anyone else has something they would like to add or question, I'd be grateful. Ragatmika. Prabhu. Is that Mike?
For such a nice class. Thank you. You mentioned the umbrella on Krishna's lotus foot. Do you remember, does anybody remember what that represents? And if Radharani has an umbrella on her feet, and does that represent the same thing?
Govinda Prabhu can probably answer that.
I know Nanda would be able to answer that.
She's not here.
Are you there, Nanda?
She can type it in.
Put it in the chat. Oh, okay. Govinda has it in the car.
Oh, wonderful.
He'll be right back.
Any other comment? Or further glorification of Jamuna?
My memory says that the umbrella represents the protection from the rain of material miseries, actually. And also there's a beautiful description, I can't remember the verse, but there's this beautiful description. While it protects us from the material miseries, from the inside of the umbrella, there's the nectar of, Krishna's shelter.
Sweet, really sweet. So that's why the umbrella is decorated with lace and pearls, all the wonderful words of the scriptures. Anything else?
You know how the mind goes from, as you hear, then different thoughts come to your mind. So when you were talking about lard and how they needed to make ghee, have you heard the story? Because you have such a good memory, I only kind of remember bits of it, but where they wanted to, that is maybe in San Francisco, Malati, they wanted to get butter. And when the butterman, the person who comes and delivers butter, it used to be like deliver butter, milk, or whatever. So somehow they went in the back of the truck while he was doing something, and they stole a huge amount of butter from the back of the truck. Have you heard that story?
I haven't heard that before, but those were the wild beginning days.
Yeah, who remembers? Maybe it's so sweet to hear that story about stealing butter, like Krishna stole butter. His devotees stole butter, following in Krishna's footsteps for Krishna.
Right.
I mean, certainly that's not the right thing to do, and we don't do that, but yet it's just so sweet.
In the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So many things were done. And this is the thing. This is actually... I know I've heard more than once that there was some godbrother of Prabhupada's, I don't know who it was, that when he left, people were glorifying it, and this particular person said, I could have done what he did, but I didn't have the inclination to associate with lower class people. So clearly, that person could never have done what Srila Prabhupada did. And it wasn't that Prabhupada had inclination to associate with lower class people, but Prabhupada had vision to see the spirit soul. He actually, and so many people, including myself, so many people have testified that from that glance, I felt myself as an eternal soul. I felt Krishna's love for me and my love for Krishna. He could do that by his glance. And then, although these people were, all of us, or so many that came in the beginning years, were so raw and had fallen to such terrible behavior and habits. It wasn't an impediment for Srila Prabhupada. He found ways to engage even those propensities. What is that story of the pilgrims that were traveling, and one of them moved the bags around of the others during the night, and when they came in the morning, they were like, what? I had my bag here, now where is it? Oh, you have it over there. And the one man said, well, I'm sorry, but before I became a devotee, I was a thief. And so my habit was to steal things during the night. I'm still having the same habit, but now I'm a devotee, so I just moved them from one place to another. So that's kind of how Prabhupada engaged his early people. It's like, they've been living with with some reckless abandon, having left behind the mores of the rigid materialistic society, that they could see its goals were wrong. Its goals were pointless. But, sometimes the behavior, but Prabhupada found a way to engage. I can remember actually on book distribution, when I was part of the Los Angeles temple, we had different preaching centers. One was in Salt Lake City. So my spot was in front of a liquor store. And people coming in, coming out, and I would, ask them for a donation and give them a book, or maybe we were selling flowers before we could give them a book, I don't remember. But one time, there was a young man, and I crossed the parking lot and went up a little hill to approach him with this book. And he turned around, and I was a young woman, and he said, I said, like, I crossed a mountain to get to you, or something like that. And he said, oh, what mountain is that? And I just suddenly realized where I was coming from and what I was doing now. I said, the mountain of renunciation. So Prabhupada, he saw people are so much in the mode of passion, I can't stop them from being active. And they're in the mode of ignorance, they're prone to steal. But if they heard of Krishna stealing, and they steal the butter and use it for Krishna's service, that's all right. That's all right. And he accepted that service. And he let us in the back door. But someone who was very attached to rules and regulations and cleanliness and doing everything the Vedic way, and not that he wasn't for cleanliness, but he could learn how to channel and engage the energies and purify even the most fallen, as long as there was some eagerness to hear and some respect. Is that okay? Oh, okay. Okay. This is on the feet of both Radha and Krishna. The umbrella on the feet of Radha Govinda proves that those who take shelter of their lotus feet are protected from the incessant rainfall of material miseries. On Radha's feet, the umbrella indicates that her lotus feet provide relief to her beloved from the scorching heat felt in her separation. It also refers to Krishna holding Govardhan Hill up like an umbrella to protect Braja from the devastating rains of Indra. It also means that those who sit in the shade of their feet become exalted, just like great kings, who usually have umbrellas held over their heads. Thanks, Prabhu. Oh yeah, another thing I thought of about the umbrella was that picture or series of pictures of Prabhupada in New York, and our Gaur Hari is holding an umbrella over his head. Yeah, so sweet. Anything else? Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.